Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first online class together. I miss you. I hope that everyone is doing okay, that your loved ones are doing okay, and I've been thinking about you guys a lot. So I want to start by saying that we are going to get through this semester. I know that nobody signed up to take online classes during a global pandemic, but we're going to finish the class. My goal is to make sure that you guys get the content that you need. And I want you to know that I'm here as a resource, so ask me questions anytime, reach out via email, and I'm very flexible. What I mean by this is that if you need extensions on projects or you want to have like one-on-one conversations about the course content, definitely reach out. I know that people's commitments and schedules are changing during this time, and that life is different now than it was a week ago, and that it may be different again in another week. So I want us to have all of the knowledge and learning from the class, but I also don't want it to be a source of stress during a stressful time. So objectives for today is I want to answer your questions from the Google form that I put up on Blackboard that you guys filled out. I want to talk about how to find sources for your call to action paper and discuss how to make the annotated bibliography, which is the next step in the process of writing the call to action. So responses to the Google Forms that we did. First of all, internet. People reached out with concerns about internet. I'm going to post on Blackboard the information that I got from a fellow instructor. This is all going to go on Blackboard, but basically what I've learned is that there are companies that are offering like waived fees for data on phones, free hotspots, free Wi-Fi if you're a student. So I'm going to put this information up and it may be really useful. So check that out. In the same vein with tech, laptops. So the English department has asked that we collect data about students who may need a laptop for doing online classes. CUNY is thinking about buying some laptops for students, so we have to collect data about who might want them. But we don't know if we're going to get the laptops. So if you would like to, if you need one, reach out to me, and then we'll see if CUNY buys them. Essentially, is what's going on. Another question: how are we going to conduct research? That's definitely something that I want to cover today in this video. Going about finding the resources that you need when we can't visit the library. With the way that I like to do research, it should be pretty much the same. I'm showing you guys the same major tool that I showed my classes last semester, which is Google Scholar, and I hope that that'll provide a really easy way to find scholarly sources. Due dates. I've updated the assignment sheets and the syllabus under content on Blackboard. So be sure that you check those out. The course calendar is updated with new due dates for your projects. Office hours. I am holding the same office hours as I was during the face-to-face part of the semester. So Tuesdays 5 to 6, Wednesdays 12 to 2, and you can email me for a Zoom conference. You guys may be using Zoom in some of your other classes, but it's just a really easy way to do video chat. So we can set up one-on-one chats for office hours. Also, I'm required to keep those hours, but I'm super flexible. So if you guys want to do a video chat at another time that's not during my regular office hours, email me and we'll make an appointment. And for Monday, Wednesday people, yes, class is only once a week. So I'm recording this video for all three of my classes, my 2 Monday, Wednesday classes and my Tuesday night class. So for Monday, Wednesday people, you guys used to meet with me twice a week. Now I'm putting you on a once a week schedule so that basically the goal here is I want everybody to be able to do the class on their own time. So that's why I'm putting lectures up on YouTube instead of having us meet live. And that's why I've moved classes into once a week, is that I want everybody to be able to access the class and get the work done when you have time. So I want to review real quick the big assignment that we're working on, the call to action paper. So I tried to put everything in the assignment sheet, but email me if you have questions. Again, that assignment sheet is under content on Blackboard. So the big idea of the paper is that you're picking a community and an issue within that community. It doesn't have to be the same community that you wrote about for units 1 and 2. It can be totally different and you don't have to be part of that community. So you're conducting research and hoping to find a possible solution to that issue, and you're going to let the research guide you. So the important thing is that we find the sources first and sort of figure out what are other people saying about this, what are experts in their field saying about this issue, and then you use that to guide what you say in your paper and the structure of your paper. I'll get into creating the paper next week, but the bottom line is that the research comes first before the drafting. So you're doing a research paper in MLA style or an opinion piece. We've read samples of both. They're in your course reader. And one question that I got in some of the proposals was, can I do kind of a mix of both? You want to pick just one genre because they have very different common elements. So looking back at those samples, picking one that you think fits what you're trying to do with the research that you find is going to be the direction that I want you guys to take this. And next week, I'm going to go into the common elements of research papers, the common elements of opinion pieces. But to answer some questions that I saw, yes, only pick one of these two genres rather than making a paper that's sort of a mix of both. So you're using 3 sources, 2 general and 1 scholarly, and you're writing a genre analysis paragraph of your own paper. So just like for the profile, you're going to be writing a little paragraph at the end that uses that vocabulary from the Bedford Book of Genres, purpose, audience, rhetorical appeals, etc. Okay, so where do we find sources? General sources, that's stuff like newspapers, magazines, documentaries, TED Talks, interviews. Interviews are not required for this, but some people said in their proposals that they want to write them. I say hell yeah. If you want to talk to people and include them as a source, that's great. General sources means sources for the public, right? So newspapers and magazines, a good place to start could be somewhere like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Atlantic. Those are good places to look for general sources. And scholarly sources, that is stuff that's being published within higher ed by professors. So you can find those kinds of sources at the City Tech Library databases or Google Scholar. And I put Google Scholar in stars because I love Google Scholar. So I'm going to show you guys each of those. So let me go back to the main City Tech Library page. So if you go to the City Tech Library website, which is library.citytech.cuny.edu, here you'll see Start Your Research, and you can go find articles. The thing that I like about this is that they sort of break it down by field because there's a lot of different databases and there's a lot to dig through essentially. So if you go by subject area, it can really narrow it down for you, make it easier. But you want to be careful about which database you go to because there's so many. And for example, like the book review databases are probably not going to be super useful, but something like Academic Search Complete could be quite useful. But here's the thing. Because we're off campus, you have to enter the barcode for the library here, which is on your City Tech ID card. But before you do that, you have to go and get it verified at the library, which we can't do right now. So some people, you may have done that in a previous English class, but if you haven't, there is a great way that you can do your research without using the library website, and that's Google Scholar. So Google Scholar, what it does, what I love about it is it takes all of the scholarly stuff from the City Tech databases or any college's database, and it puts it all in one place. So you don't have to search around on different databases to find what you want. But you have to connect the fact that you are a City Tech student to Google Scholar so that it gives you all of the stuff that City Tech owns. So I'm connected with my personal Gmail right now. Make sure you're logged in with your Gmail so that it'll save your settings. Even if you don't log in with your Gmail, you can still do this and search. You'll just have to do what I'm about to show you every time. So in order to link it up with City Tech, you're going to click these 3 lines here, and then click Settings, and then Library Links. And in this search bar, you're going to type the name of our school. And it says here, New York City College of Technology, find full text at NYCCT. Click that, click Save. Now we're linked up to all of the scholarly databases at City Tech. So now I can start to search. Again, I really like this because it puts everything in one place. I think it makes searching a lot easier. So I really recommend Google Scholar. Okay, so now that you know where you want to go to get your sources, how do you find them? And the bottom line is keywords. So you're going to use your research question to create those keywords. So I have a sample here. If my research question is, how can CUNY better support students in terms of transportation in the MTA, I can pull some of the most important words from that research question and turn it into my keywords that I use to search in the databases or in Google Scholar. So I pull those important words out. And maybe as I'm searching, if I don't find the exact thing that I want to with the actual words from my research question, I can pull synonyms or similar concepts out of the research question. So let me give you an example here. So if I go to Google Scholar and say I type the CUNY College MTA students, just using some words from my research question. Now I'm seeing some titles, right? So moving the completion needle at community colleges, CUNY's accelerated study and associate program. So that's about ASAP, that might be useful. Student library and technology questionnaire, not so much. So on my initial search, I'm not really finding anything that looks useful to me, and that's super normal. So now I've got to start to change up my keywords. What if I search college cost transportation MTA? And then I have this one here, privatizing MTA services, cost savings, or political buzzwords. Interesting. Let me see. Okay, so I have access to the source. So this might be something that I use. And this is sort of where you stop when you're first gathering stuff, is just try to like pull some things, open them up as a tab, and then keep looking. Let's see. So after you're starting to look for the actual words from your research question, the synonyms and similar concepts, you may also need to broaden your search. For example, the sample research paper that we read, that student in A Rough Ride, No One Seems to Care How You Get There, used a psychology textbook and applied the general concepts from the psychology textbook to CUNY students needing Metro cards. So you guys can do the same thing. Even if nobody is writing about the exact thing that you want to write about on the databases, on the scholarly sources, don't feel like you have to give up on your project. You can just broaden the search, find stuff that's more broadly applicable to what you're doing, and then your job in the paper is to apply that source, show how this general source is related to your particular situation. And like I said before, it often takes multiple tries to find the right keywords. And I'm available to you guys if you are having problems finding sources, like I can do some searching with you and we'll figure out how to find sources that are useful for your paper. But let me just show an example of broadening your search. So say that I'm on Google Scholar and I'm feeling like, oh, I'm not really finding much about college students and the subway and the MTA. So maybe I'll search like New York MTA budget. Here's the budget from 2012. That's a little old. 2017, that's a little more recent. I could click on this. I could sort of look through the budget and see if there's information about the general way that the MTA spends their money that I could apply to the specific population of CUNY students that I want to write about. So the bottom line here, guys, is use your research question, but if you don't find stuff right away that's related to your exact words of your research question, broaden it out, use synonyms, use related concepts, and that's how you can start to find sources that you might be able to apply to your own project. So maybe you found a potential source, right? Like you think you might want to use it in the paper. One important thing is for longer scholarly sources, don't read the whole thing unless you know you want to use it in your paper. Read strategically. Just look at the abstract, which is like the little summary of the paper often at the beginning, or look at the conclusion. Sometimes the conclusion will tell you everything you need to know. Just headings. Use that idea of previewing that we've talked about in class to save yourself some time. And the chapter that you guys are going to read for homework sort of talks about this work of previewing and figuring out, like, is this author somebody who's credible? Is this source or the place that it was published credible? Doing that kind of work and just trying to pull the exact information that you need rather than reading a whole source is going to save you a lot of time. Do not feel like you have to read these long scholarly sources when you're just trying to decide whether to use them or not. Read strategically. Okay, so after you find your 3 sources, your next step is going to be the annotated bibliography. So what is it? Your sources, so it's your sources in MLA style with a paragraph underneath that summarizes the source and explains why you think it's going to be useful to your project. Give yourself time to do this. I found this as a student, and students that I've worked with find this to be true, is sometimes you might wait till the last minute for an annotated bib and then you realize, like, oh shit, I needed more time to do that research. So you guys have a week to work on this. Give yourself that time so that you can find sources that are actually interesting and useful, and that you can read them enough once you know that you want to use them to summarize them and talk about why they'd be useful in the paper. Let's see. I want to show you guys the fact that at the end of the chapter that you read for homework this week, this is like the last couple pages of what you read. There's this organizing your sources, how to create an annotated bibliography. And here's a great example right here of what it looks like. So you have the MLA style citation, and then you have the paragraph that describes the source. And then it gives you some more sources on the next page. So this is a model of what the annotated bib looks like. And the function of the annotated bibliography is just so that you can get your sources together first before you start to write the paper. Okay, so MLA resources. You do not need to memorize MLA, use your resources. So I'm asking you guys to put your sources in MLA style, but I don't want you to feel like you have to like learn MLA over the course of this week. I've been working with MLA for a long time, and I don't think anybody should memorize it. I don't have it memorized. Use Purdue OWL. Purdue OWL is an amazing website. It's run by the Purdue University, and it's their Writing Center website, and it's a great resource. It shows a lot of samples, sample papers. It's my favorite place to go for citation. And EasyBib. EasyBib is a website where it'll put together citations for you. My advice is if you use a website that makes citations for you, please check it against Purdue OWL. Sometimes the citation is not quite right, or it might cite something that's like slightly different than what you actually used. So just double check it against Purdue OWL if you do use a website that makes citations for you. So let me show you each of these real quick. Okay, so if I'm on Purdue OWL, oh, I just went back to Purdue's main website. If you just Google Purdue OWL, it's like owlpurdue.edu. Damn, I didn't want to go here either. What just happened? Okay, this is what I was looking for. Welcome to the Purdue OWL. So we're writing an MLA, which is a humanities-based citation style. APA is more the social sciences. You guys may have written papers in other classes that are in APA. So if I'm on the APA style guide, the most useful thing to you guys is going to be MLA formatting and style guide. And then it breaks down how to cite like any kind of source under the sun. For you guys, especially because we're remote right now, the electronic sources is going to be probably your best friend in this. And this page has everything that you need for citing an online source. So say that you're citing an entire website. Great. It tells you how to do it. It gives you a sample. A page on a website, this is what I use most of all. It gives you a sample citation, and what I do is I just use it as a model. Like I might even copy and paste this sample and just put in the information I need. But the general idea is that if there's an author, it goes last name, first name, the title of the page or the article, where it was published, the URL, and then the date that you accessed it. This looks different for different kinds of sources. So like a YouTube video is different, but Purdue OWL is going to show you how to do pretty much anything under the sun. So I really recommend using it. The other thing about MLA and a works cited page and a paper and an annotated bib is that you order your sources in order of their last name. So if you have like 3 sources, one is Lundman, one is Slater, and one is Zawacki, you would put the L first, then the S, then the Z last name. So you put them in alphabetical order by last name. Okay. So wrapping up, here's your next steps for next week. Strategically read, evaluating and choosing sources. This is the last chapter in our course reader. I say strategically read because you do not need to read this from beginning to end, but it helps talk about the idea of the difference between scholarly and general sources, and then it sort of walks you through picking sources, some of the things that I've talked about here today. So yeah, preview it, look at the headings, pull the stuff that's the most useful to you, but don't feel like you have to read this from the first word to the last. I do think it's a useful chapter though. So strategically read that. Comment on the class participation discussion board by Friday, and then post your annotated bibliography in the homework discussion board for next week. So just before I post the next YouTube video, put up your annotated bib. And I'm going to label the difference between class participation and homework really clearly on the discussion board. Just make sure you're commenting in both. Yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Email me if you have questions. Make sure you're taking a look at the syllabus and the updated assignment sheets. And yeah, I look forward to continuing in this weird online world. Have a good week, guys.